All right, let's talk about AI. We're at this incredible moment where artificial intelligence is getting more and more powerful, like every single day. And that brings us to some massive choices. We're looking at a future that could be amazing, but it also forces us to ask some really big questions about, well, about our own destiny. So let's just cut right to the chase with the big question. What happens when AI gets a body? I mean, we're not just talking about code sitting on a server anymore. We're talking about AI that can actually move, interact, and do things in the real world, right alongside us. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll talk about the crossroads we're at right now. Then, we'll get into what it means to have robots in the real world. After that, we'll look at this really interesting idea called humanity's safe button. And from there, we'll explore two wildly different paths. One where we choose a much simpler life, and another where we team up with AI, and maybe even redefine what it means to be human. All right, first up, the AI crossroads ahead. To really get a grip on where all of this is headed, we have to stop and appreciate just how critical this moment in history really is. Look, this is so much bigger than just the next cool app or a slightly smarter search engine. Seriously, the choices we're making right now about how we develop AI, well, they could literally change the entire course of human civilization, for better or for worse. I mean, the stakes just don't get any higher than this. Okay, so that brings us to our next section, robots in the real world. This is the point where AI stops being this abstract thing, just code, and starts having real, tangible consequences in our physical lives. So what we're talking about here is robotic AI. And you've seen it. Think about self-driving cars, those huge automated factories, delivery drones buzzing around, even robots in hospitals. This stuff isn't sci-fi anymore, right? These are smart systems that can actually see and understand their environment and then do something in it. And that ability, the ability to physically act, that's what changes the game. It brings a whole new set of challenges and, frankly, risks. It's one thing for an AI to write an essay for you. It's a completely different thing for it to be driving a 10-ton truck down the highway.
For a lot of people, the first thing that comes to mind is jobs, the economy, and it's a huge deal. As these systems get better and better, they could start replacing human workers across whole industries. We're talking about the potential for massive job displacement and the kind of social upheaval that comes with it.
Then things get, well, they get a lot darker. We have to talk about autonomous weapons. I mean, think about it. Machines making kill decisions on a battlefield with no human in the loop. It raises these enormous ethical questions. Who's responsible? What's the morality there? It changes the very nature of war. And maybe the biggest, most fundamental risk of all is this. We could lose our own agency, our own control. As we hand over more and more of our critical systems, our transportation grids, our financial markets, our security to these autonomous AIs, we run the risk of creating a world where we're just not in the driver's seat anymore. So when you're staring down risks like that, you have to ask, how do we protect ourselves? Is there a failsafe? And that brings us to our third section, this fascinating idea of humanity's safe button.
Yeah, the safe button. Now, obviously, we're not talking about a big, literal red button sitting in a vault somewhere. It's more of a concept, right? A strategic plan. It's a commitment that we will always maintain control. It's the simple but powerful idea that if AI starts going down a dangerous path, we have to have a way to pull the plug.
So what does pressing the button actually look like? Well, it could start small, relatively speaking, like implementing really strict global regulations. If that's not enough, maybe we impose moratoriums, a total freeze on certain kinds of dangerous AI research. And in the most extreme scenario, it means we have to be ready to completely roll back and shut down systems that are just too risky to exist. Because that's the whole point, isn't it? The ultimate goal here is to make sure that no matter how smart our technology gets, humanity, us, we stay in control of our own future. Okay, but what if we have to push that button all the way? What does the most extreme version of this look like? Well, this is where things get really, really radical. We're talking about the ultimate rollback. It's the idea that if AI becomes a true, undeniable threat to our very existence, our safest option might be to hit a giant reset button on society, to voluntarily walk away from our high-tech world and return to a much, much simpler way of life. And just think about that trade-off for a second. It's massive. On one side, we'd lose things we can't even imagine living without. Modern medicine, global supply chains, the internet.
But the argument on the other side is that we might get something absolutely essential back. Things like real sustainability, stronger communities, and a genuine connection to nature.
Look, it would be an unbelievably difficult thing to do, a huge sacrifice. But if it's a path to survival, it forces us to ask a really fundamental question. What do we actually value more? Pushing technology forward no matter what, or ensuring that humanity has a future that's safe and sustainable?
But maybe there's another path. One that doesn't involve hitting that drastic reset button. And this brings us to a very different vision of the future. One where we actually coexist with AI. So instead of seeing AI as this threat we have to contain, what if we saw it as our most powerful partner? The idea is we build it right from the start. We use its amazing ability to crunch data, but we make sure it's guided by human values like fairness and justice. Just imagine using that power to tackle the big stuff, climate change, curing diseases, all while we keep a close watch to make sure it stays aligned with what's best for humanity.
And that's the whole philosophy behind this path of coexistence. The goal isn't to replace humans, it's to augment us. To build a tool that makes us better. An AI that helps us think smarter, create bigger, and solve problems that are impossible for us right now, all while we stay firmly in the driver's seat.
But this idea of partnership, well, it leads us to our final and maybe the most mind-bending frontier of all. What happens when the line between the tool and the user starts to disappear? And yeah, we're definitely getting into some speculative territory here. But what happens when things like brain-computer interfaces create a direct link between our minds and AI? I mean, the boundaries just start to dissolve. Your memory could be stored digitally, searchable. Your thoughts could be boosted by AI in real time. This isn't just about a new tool anymore. This is a potential evolution of our species. It challenges the very definition of what it means to be human. And that leaves us with this one huge, lingering question. The path we pick, whether it's total control, a full reset, or deep collaboration, it's not just going to decide the future of technology, it's going to decide the future of humanity. Because as we sit here designing the future of AI, we're actually, in a very real way, redesigning the future of ourselves. Thanks so much for joining me.